All right. What a day it has been. Quite the historic week as well. You had Master Plan 4. A lot of debate about whether it was a word salad. Elon came out and said, okay, hang on. I'm going to add to this. There's going to be some context. And then, boom, you had the Tesla board with the SEC filing today with the new comp plan for Elon Reeves Musk. And quite the comp plan it is. Gustav Andersson, Scott Walter, welcome. Great to have you back on this momentous, historic day, this momentous occasion. Your big takeaway for today. Where are we with Tesla?
Scott, do you want to take it away?
Well, I think my takeaway was not so much the comp plan, but what everyone pointed my attention to, and it's like one of the pictures in there showing another kind of version of Optimus. And the big question is like, is that the Gen 3? Is that kind of a teaser for it? Or is it, it's definitely the same bot that we saw.
This one?
Yeah,
it's
the same bot we saw the day before.
Right.
In that the release from Marc Benioff of his visit to the Tesla headquarters, and kind of the controversy that came around that, because it wasn't necessarily, let's say, the best reveal of that bot. Things didn't go exactly smoothly. I've had a breakdown on that it's not as bad as everyone thinks, because it wasn't really meant to be released and through the normal formal channels. But still, we got a glimpse of what the direction may look like. And I still don't think that is the Gen 3 bot. I think it's just kind of an upgrade that they've been doing to fix a few issues. And we can get into that.
Yeah, but the boys are definitely back in town, would you say? Elon seems to be quite at the center of things again. Gustav?
Yeah, and I can just agree with Scott. I mean, the hands from the live demo recorded by that phone, I mean, not very impressive, but they were probably not meant to be. There are some kind of placeholder at the moment. And then for the proxy cover, there's something else going on. There's a different forearm, and it has this nice black gloves on. So I'm guessing it's a variant of the two.
It may be the direction they plan on going in. I still think it could be the mannequin hand that we saw on the release the day before, just with a black glove on it. But obviously the rest of the forearms are a little bit different. But it's kind of interesting is if you look at the Gen 2 bot, that black area or that black patch that you see around the elbow extends into the forearm area a little bit. And I think it even did when they mounted the Gen 2 hand on it back in November when they did the tennis ball catch. So to me, it looks a little bit like a Frankenstein they put together right now, perhaps just for this image to show the direction they're going in. But there have been some changes that to the design that are a little bit different than the Gen 2 bot. The first thing is if you zoom in really close to the waist, you're going to see that there is now venting in the waist. When you zoom right on in there, you're going to see something, and the first thing you might say, oh, is that like a loudspeaker, or is that actually a vent? That is not in the Gen 2 bot, if you look in the Gen 2 bots. Now, if you zoom in to the actual video from the other day, you can see through there and to the insides of Optimus, and you can see the actuators that are the top of one of the actuators that's used for the wrist rotation. And that's probably because they were having overheating problems, and they need to move more air through there, and that's what they decided to do now. So if you zoom in really close, you can actually see a little bit of the top of the actuators that are in there. The other thing is there's something about the waist that's a little bit different, and I don't know if it's the angle we're looking at, and if my eyes are being tricked, but I can see what is the abductor, basically that big actuator that kind of forms the gluteus maximus back there.
Right.
To me, it looks like it's been moved in a little bit. Okay. It used to be kind of straight out. So it's almost got like a swept back view to it, as if they're trying to package it a little bit differently just to make it a bit better. So, but what you could say is like Optimus is now kind of clenching his butt and by the way they brought those around, and the covers have changed a little bit, but kinematically and everything, it still seems to be the same. It may be that they've been able to come up with actuators that are a little bit lighter, a little bit tighter, that they're able to fit in some places there. But it's not a radical departure from Gen 2, which is what we're actually expecting in Gen 3, based on comments that Elon has made about that. Right. So the comment he's made and what we're seeing do not sync up. So that was just a placeholder picture to kind of show, yeah, we're still iterating on it. And I think the key is like, what is the color of the bot in both those cases?
Yeah, it reminds me of something.
Yeah. What does it remind you of? Some people say C3PO, but C3PO was shiny. It's the same color as the Cybercab and as the Robovan. And I think what it
means the Robovan.
The Robovan, yes, the Robovan. Sorry,
well, that's a joke. That's an insider joke.
Misspoke on that.
Tell me they aren't gonna call it Robovan. Please.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to call it Robovan. It sounds better. It rolls off the tongue a bit better. So I think that's kind of what they're saying is that this color represents physical AI or embodied AI. That's how they're looking at it. Yeah.
Okay.
But looking at these with the different gloves, different forearms, some slight variations, like in these kinds of developments, is it common to have a multitude of like prototypes, or is it just that the arms are placeholders in certain?
In some cases, they may be placeholders. So one of the things that I mentioned in my post is that if you're putting an environment where the bot is untethered and its main goal is like to walk around the office, not necessarily to manipulate things. If it falls down, it's going to fall down on its hands and it's going to break those hands. And they are the most costly part of the bot. So if you're not really caring about manipulation, or let's say you're not training it to do it, because that's when you really want to have the hands is when you're teleoperating, doing something like that. You might just say, let's just put some placeholders on there right now. There's no reason that it has to have everything that's on there because we're developing right now. Right. And probably every bot is a little bit different because of things that they're testing out, things that are getting broken. And my suspicion is that bot was there just to be the development platform for the LLM integration that they're doing with Grok. And we have confirmed it is Grok because someone from XAI said it is. And everyone noticed it's really slow. And they've noticed it's really slow. And the same person who posted that, yes, it is actually Grok in there. When asked about that, says we're investigating. So they were probably expecting it was going to be a little bit faster. Many reasons why it could be, and it's just that it's a development environment. All sorts of things are going on. People could be, logging files and stuff like that because they're trying to debug something. Right down to the fact that the connectivity could have just been horrible that day because they're, whatever Wi-Fi they're running or 5G system, whatever they're on, something like that could go. And it also came down. I think you get thrown for a loop there with a question, and that asked, "Where can I get a Coke?" And wasn't sure because you get kind of caught up. It's like, I don't have any real-time data about the status of the vending machine. I don't know if it's full or not, or the fridge. And so, sometimes an LLM will be very precise and want to give you a very accurate answer, and realizing that, and then finally it's like, well, let's check the kitchen. That's the only logical place. I can take you there.
Logical.
Yeah. It's logical. It's logical.
Yeah. All right.
And of course, the slow walking, that's a safety feature.
Yeah. And as well as the space, I think we could hear Elon say that, we need to give it a bit of space.
Yes.
Which, again, is a safety feature.
They have human proximity sensors there to make sure it will not start to do an action if someone is too close.
Correct.
And that's something that all bots can learn from. All of them.
Yeah.
I just realized, I'm guessing the one that walks is, of course, real, but the proxy cover, perhaps that's just a render. I mean, isn't it easier to just have your digital copy to put it on the page instead of a page?
It could be. It could be in that it may be a digital one. So at first I thought what we're looking at was a buck, which would just be like a prototype mock-up that you put together for everyone to kind of look at and examine before you actually build something. That could have been also either a picture of an early buck or more than likely a render. And from that render, they're able to produce the components that we saw in there. So there were a lot of similarities and dissimilarities, but I would say the forearm is where it's different from what we saw in reality versus what's here. But it seems like everything else we did see, because if you look at where that venting is down in the waist, it appears in both.
Yeah, the forearms are a lot slimmer.
Yeah, they're very slim, but so was the forearm in the prototype that we saw back in November.
the tennis ball catch.
The tennis ball catch. It was remarkable. I was expecting it to be bulky. I thought it was going to be Popeye kind of forearm. And the hand almost looks like a human hand. And you'll see that the forearm that's there is smaller than the forearm on the other side. Now, the forearm on the other side, you have two actuators there, those black actuators that are only for manipulating the wrist. They have nothing to do with the hand. And all the actuation of the hand is done by actuators inside the palm. So if you look how bulky that forearm is on what would be his right hand or our left, and realizing that there's just two there, and now on the other one they have probably 24 actuators, actually more like 26 actuators, because they also need the actuators that are going to do the wrist manipulation. And so somehow they took the wrist manipulators or actuators, scaled them down to a size that you don't even notice them, and then shoved in everything else. So that is a lot of miniaturization that they've been able to do. And that really stunned me, that they were able to pull something like that. And again, you can kind of see what is the black fabric that's covering the inside part of the elbow there. That looks that, it's still kind of kept in the neck design, but you see it goes from the upper to the lower, and the other one is just kind of cropped right off there. So that may just be part of a render, or it may be a new design. But I think in this one, do we see it exposed completely? It's hard to tell.
Exposed in the back, I think.
Yeah. Looks like it doesn't go down as far on the newer version. So they developed an arm like that. It's just that we're not seeing that in the Benioff video.
And I mean, the plastic sleeve is just a sleeve, but it has that circular cutout on this one, the same as on the image. So maybe it's similar.
Yeah.
So perhaps it's the real hand under there. I would be impressed. I mean, in the black glove one, not the one walking around in the office.
And are you saying all of that is now jammed into that form factor?
Apparently. Now, this hand here, that the prototype that was seen at the 1010 event, obviously was very big, very bulky. And the fact that it was at the 1010 event kind of told me, man, why are they bringing that thing all the way down to show off? The engineers up in Palo Alto must be really angry that they need it to work on. And it may be that was a very early prototype that they had no need for it anymore. And that was demonstrating what it could do, but you'll see is extremely bulky. And then to see them
was in Austin, Texas later, right? In like a
but not that one. The one on the tennis ball. Yeah, I think we saw a left and a right hand there.
But even it was in the background when I think it was a government official or someone walking by, and they had it on the shelf doing this air guitar dance. Yes,
the new one. So that was rather remarkable to see how they were able to miniaturize it at that point. So it's possible that is the form factor they're going for on the forearms, but I'm expecting more changes throughout the entire body, not just there.
Okay, so this is the perfect time to pivot to what's happened today. You had Benioff's post. You had the boys are back in town. Benioff, Salesforce CEO, at the Tesla facility, talking to Elon, getting a sneak preview. A lot of signposting. And I've always believed and noticed that, when Tesla plays the field, they've got these little crumbs that are scattered across their canvas that they're painting. And they're little signals, a little signposts, little Easter eggs. That's the way Tesla plays the game. Right. What are we looking at? What does it mean for Benioff to be with Elon, looking at this new model of the Optimus, whether it's a Gen 3 or 2.5 or whatever? What is it signaling?
Well, I think it's signaling that is where a lot of the future value of the company is coming from. It's not coming from selling cars. They've always said it's coming from the idea of robotaxi. And it's been mentioned that despite the fact that they hope robotaxi will be quite a profit center, that embodied physical AI in the form of a humanoid robot will be even bigger. So I think the expectation is it's going to be a lot larger. So when you look at in order to get that payday, it means the value of Tesla has to get close to $9 trillion, which is what it's well, where Tesla's over $1 trillion right now, so maybe it's an 8x or something like that from where we currently are. So that's sort of there, and a lot of that valuation is believed would be coming from Optimus. If you take Optimus out of the equation, there's no way you get anywhere near that.
Yeah,
and then everything's
about 80%.
Yeah, and that could make sense. The thing is, all these calculations are just nutty when you look at physical AI in robotics, and that because the TAM is so big for labor that you can come up with numbers. But the thing is, it could also be a super competitive landscape, and a lot of people are betting that the humanoid form factor is like the ideal form factor for that. And it may turn out that it's right in certain areas, but there's so many other areas that you could automate that the robotic platforms and form factors will be very different. And the question is, can you quickly pivot to those form factors? I would say you can, because the biggest problem with all this, it's not so much that anyone can build a humanoid form factor. What's really hard is getting that humanoid form factor to do useful work.
Yeah,
it's the intelligence
that goes the AI brain comes in. That's where
Once you get the AI brain, then you could start unleashing in all sorts of things. And so whoever maybe already has the expertise in a lot of those different disciplines and areas may be able to do it and get the lion's share of it. But that's what remains to see. So that's the Easter egg. It's like, don't forget about Optimus. That's really where all the chips are right now.
Correct. And of course, Salesforce is known for Agentforce. It's right there up with Microsoft and Google and Klarna AI, the Swedish company, that have not only been reducing the number of new hires they're making, but also letting go of staff because AI is taking over jobs internally. Salesforce, of course, famous by now for Agentforce, which is transforming so many knowledge sectors. Now you have someone like Benioff with Salesforce background, this recent article on their guide to investing in robotics, meeting Elon Musk. We've always discussed about whether Tesla's going to make outright sales or will it be leases for the first 5 to 10 years. What do you make of this, Scott?
So is Salesforce the customer or investor or?
Good question.
My understanding is that Marc Benioff is an investor or may have been an early investor in Tesla. So then the other thing is they have a venture arm, which I think has been around for quite a while, and they invest in different areas. And you'll notice the terminology he used about physical Agentforce. So Agentforce is something they already have, which is their digital AI, which has resulted in them being able to cut back on the workforce substantially, replacing a lot of the support with that. And he's probably seeing that, well, the next logical step is to go from digital to physical. And if you look at what is like, I think it's a couple of weeks old, that Salesforce or that Salesforce venture article that was pretty well researched and has some very good points in there about what you want to look at when investing in a company. So part of it is certainly investing, or already invested there, but the other is that what about using this? So I'm sure Salesforce is already saying that, all right, we'd like to buy, the first 10% of the Optimus bots that come off the line, something like that, because we could see a way of deploying these things because Salesforce is everywhere. I mean, if you think about who would be in a better position to be able to manage fleets of these things. So
is that why he stated the cost as well? That he got
that might be where he's getting the cost from. And but if we just back up for a second, going to point two. Point two is one of those things that we talk, demo videos, and this is basically giving him advice of what to look for, or not look for in demo videos. And then in the very bottom, they say the best thing is to get in-person demonstration. And so that's exactly what kind of the point of that was like, oh, I want to see exactly what's going on in person before we start making commitments and deciding what's going on. So I think they're probably very interested in the idea of deploying this as part of some sort of subsidiary of Salesforce. And they've been crunching the numbers as well. They've been talking to their own customers who probably are having all kinds of labor issues. Like, can you help us solve that? What's going to look like? As well as the suppliers, as well as looking, who do you invest in this robotic space? Because it's a huge space for being able to do investment. So I'm not surprised he's there. That number?
Where did that number come from?
I'm guessing. Oh, if you want to buy 10,000, this is the price you get. You think so, or is it based on their calculations of what the early years will be, or did Elon pitch them a?
It's kind of way out of context. Done a physical Agentforce revolution, tackling human work for 200 to 500,000. That's not what it costs to buildings, because we've been told by multiple sources, including Tesla, that no, it's south of 100,000, not north of 100,000.
About 60,000, right? That's the ballpark figure.
That's kind of the expectation that people say that they're at right now. But my feeling is that they'll probably get it under 50 very soon. If a lot of them aren't, once they get to scale, it's easily under 50.
Correct. Right.
And this can't be the annual lease. I mean, then it would not.
It could be.
Would it?
That's high. I think the business owners want to pay less, not more, than what it already costs them to do the different tasks. Most numbers, and this is again almost kind of, it's not quite pulling a number out of the air, but if you start to do it, you begin to realize, and if you actually ask people, I've done a couple of polls and things like that, which are completely unscientific, but when you talk to others, the feeling is that right around 100,000, many people would be willing to lease them for $100,000. This is that RAS model. So they would say,
if you consider one bot equals to 3 workers, 3 human workers,
easily 3, maybe 4. I mean, if it's 1-to-1 as far as speed and capability and everything else, it's about 3, depending upon how you run your organization. Are you a 24/7, or are you a restaurant that's only open up for a couple hours 5 days a week? So it's going to have different value. So yes, if you're looking immediately at those who are hiring 3 people a day to keep it going, and then you get weekends, so in a sense you almost need 4, then you're looking at wages that, even at minimum wage, and with everything else added on top of it, all the other expenses on there, you're somewhere between 50 and 70,000 a worker. You multiply that by 4, and quickly you get up to like $250,000. So they could easily see that. Now, what he may be saying is that that's the value that it has.
They're replacing that kind of work.
And if it's a high skill work, I mean, it's like if you get, so there are workers that you are probably paying over $100,000 a year. So easily it could be worth that. Now, I would think the business owners do want to save a little bit of money, and they would like to save a lot. So that can't be what they're considering as the RAS. I'm thinking that that's the value that an individual bot earns over its lifetime to whoever is running that bot, or owns it, or has sold it. So if Tesla is managing the RAS, then one Optimus could be bringing anywhere from $200,000 to $500,000 in revenue during its lifetime, even if the build cost is $30,000, $50,000, $60,000, something like that. That's probably what it is then able to bring in, and then you'd have to decide what other overhead is on top of that.
Right, and that lifetime would be what, 10 years, 15 years?
I'm thinking that lifetime is usually like 3 years, 3 to 5 years, because that's how most companies do their ROIs. And that by that time you've depreciated it down. Doesn't mean doesn't have any value. It means that within 3 to 5 years, it's being replaced by the next model, which is 3 times faster and runs longer. And no one wants that model. However, there are going to be plenty of people that are more than willing. I mean, it's like, think about jet aircraft. Is that within 15 to 20 years, they're sold, but they're sold to a third world country that still is able to use it for like another 10 years, even though it's not quite in the peak condition. So it still has value. And I would say the same thing would happen to Optimus, is that they're not going to melt it down right away. If it can still function, if it's completely broken down, you scrap it. But at some point, it's depreciated, and then it's not as valuable as just replacing it with the latest model.
Yes, of course. And in the long term, the MRO operations.
Right. And that's when it might go from a RAS to like you just outright sell it. I mean, that's what all the rental car companies do, right? They get they get 12 months out of the car, or 18 months, and then they sell it.
So because I brought that up because I want to draw your attention to this really interesting post from Pero Micic, where he talks about so he's done his own calculation, like CERN, Adam Dorr, and of course you mentioned here as usual,
and also Adam Dorr of Rethink.
Of Rethink,
Rethink X. Yep.
Yeah. So he's this is Pero. This is his calculation. He's crunched the numbers. He's saying production costs about $30,000 for a humanoid, 5% the mass of a passenger car, Costly parts are actuators, gearboxes. I'm sure you'd agree. Operating costs $30,000 per year, of which $18,000 is human oversight and coordination. Operating time 6,600 hours per year. Work speed versus humans 100% initially. Later generations will likely reach 200%. The interesting part here, he says, the result, based on these assumptions, the humanoid work hour will cost at most $14. What do you make of that?
Yeah. And Perro will tell you he is very conservative on these numbers. And
Yes.
I agree that he's, whatever number he's putting up there, a lot of thought and research has gone into those things. He's not just pulling them out of the air. And so he's able to get down to that, which is pretty much about minimum wage. But the thing is, even a $15 minimum wage is not what it actually costs the business owner. The business owner has to pay taxes on top of that, and a lot of other benefits and other things that go along with it. So the reality is it's probably closer to $20 an hour for the equivalent human worker. So that means you're already seeing a cost savings if that's what it costs to run. And that makes sense. Now, I know I've seen other calculations that go down as low as like, $5 to like $1, but that's like going way out to 20, 40 or something like that.
Right.
But I believe in the short term, that is definitely quite possible. And even if it's pricier than some human labor, in many cases, it will still be competitive for a couple of reasons. One is there's a job shortage, believe it or not. And there are many industries where you just cannot hire people that they don't want to do the work. So this will be the only way to do it. And the other is there's hourly costs, and then there's these unintangibles, like the robot always shows up on Monday morning at 8:00. And they're going to be there, so you're not going to work about the vagaries and illnesses and vacations, all these other things that kind of come up. So just the dependability, people would sometimes be worth paying a little bit extra for that, because many factories, in order to avoid that problem, will actually have 10% more people on staff at all times, just for that, because you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Okay, so. We're running short of time, and I want to run through a lot of it. Gustav, to you and Scott Walter, both of you gentlemen, let's go back to the proxy statement. The investment in XAI, that's also going to be put to vote. We spoke about Grok already being embedded in Optimus. How do you see this playing out from your own perspective?
I mean, it's no longer as big of a shocker as the first time, or the first time he got his comp package, if that's what we're gonna mention. I mean, everyone thought this is never gonna happen. It's the craziest idea. Why would they even present this? Why would Elon accept this comp package? Because it's impossible to reach these levels, and they're kind of laughing it off. And then it managed to pass, and then the whole court saga following that. But now, then, when they're presenting an even more extravagant comp package, I mean, people are probably not as skeptical anymore. They're like, yeah, they're probably going to reach a few of those trenches. And I mean, 10x, 8x the current market cap. I mean, yeah, it would be impressive. I mean, who wouldn't vote for that if you're an investor?
So if the vote on getting a chunk of XAI goes through, which I guess it will, what's the value add to Optimus and the whole business model of Optimus?
Yeah,
I mean, it could be very important because of the access to the compute that you just need to have, as well as a lot of the researchers there. There's a couple of things that kind of concern me about that. The first was the whole rationale behind coming up with XAI is because you couldn't do it in Tesla. Because you couldn't attract the talent because they wanted to set up their own independent company. So the whole idea is that you're bringing these people in, and they're part of that because it's going to grow like gangbusters, right? Whereas Tesla was kind of going sideways for the longest time. It was really hard to bring in the talent when they're saying, well, wait a minute, these stock options don't mean as much. I can go down the road to some other Silicon Valley startup, and my options are. So that's what Elon had to do to hold the talent. Now he's saying, wait, but we're going to bring it inside, and you'll see there's already been a talent flight the past month or so from XAI, and maybe because they're looking at that and saying, oh, wait a minute, I'm going to be tied to Tesla shares now. I'm not going to have the XAI. The other thing, which is also concerning, was a post today from Chris Camillo, who said that the current burn rate for XAI is they're going to run out of money in 12 months.
Yeah.
Based on what they're and the other thing is, like, if you're an NVIDIA investor, you might also realize that like a substantial amount of your money is coming from XAI and others. It's like a small number there. So they are going through cash like crazy, and they're going to need an infusion. And the other thing is that evidently the capital raises that XAI has tried to do this past year have not gone as well as they expected. So they're having a hard time even raising money. So right now it looks more like a lifeline going to XAI. So in some ways, that's more concerning to me than the comp package, though a lot of people might say that, yeah, but they're kind of tied together. The only way you can kind of get to those is something like that. But okay, so I'm not sure.
Is it to keep
Elon
XAI
is like, I assume that if you were a researcher and you went into XAI or something like that, you were hoping that whatever equity you have was going to like 100x or 1000x. And I'm not sure what happens right now. Is when that goes in, does that mean your upside is at best 10x over 10 years? You're going to stay? So maybe they don't need the talent anymore at XAI. I don't know. At this point, is it on autopilot? Is it really just a question of we just need lots of compute and a lot of time and problem solved?
AGI will appear, or is it to keep Elon like in line? Like, okay, he's too much talking about grok images, and if we kind of get XAI into Tesla, that would make people be more okay with him diverting his attention, or
Yeah, I don't see. There's definitely a lot of Tesla shareholders that would like to have a part of XAI because they believe that it's an XPEX thing. That's how you kind of bring it in, and you can start to position Tesla as like an AI company, not a car company, to kind of get this valuation. I'm just not sure how the shareholders, especially those early investors, those venture capitalists that just threw all kinds of cash at there, and they're just saying, "Wait a minute, what?" Is this their exit plan right now?
Or is it because it's the only way for
or is it a cash infusion? See, that's what I'm concerned is, are you buying a company and in the purchase, and that what you're doing is you're buying out a bunch of investors so they get an exit plan, or is that money really going to capital that's going to help them be able to go forward? So I definitely have a lot of questions.
Tesla has a lot of cash in books, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, but they're going through it like crazy. They're going, Well, Tesla, I mean,
they have a few billion.
What do they have? I think 32 billion or something like that cash.
But if the burn rate was
that sounds like a lot of money to you and me, but that doesn't last very. And remember, Tesla has to build factories with that. All right, and they have all these other obligations that have nothing to do with XAI. So it's not like you're giving 32 billion to XAI. They have to build Optimus. They have to scale up their solar. They have the energy division. They have so many other things that are going on. Is that you can only say that, well, we can spare a couple of billion.
But is it to kind of get
unless it's such a
physical
small
AI?
state.
I mean, XAI will only grow that much, but Elon keeps saying that to get AGI, you need physical AI, like humanoid bots, and XAI will not build humanoid bots. So it's the only way for them to kind of go to the next level is to be part of Tesla, because just selling the LLM to ask for a Coke that takes 10 minutes to find in the kitchen, maybe it just...
That's a great point, Gustav. Yeah, just to stick with the comp plan and the bot side of it, 1 million humanoids. Now, this is a 10-year timeline that they're looking at, that the board is looking at. But I mean, come on, you're going to just have 1 million bots by 2030. Easy, right?
And what? I didn't see it. 1 million by 2030 or 1 million by 2035.
No, it's just one of so there's the EBITDA timeline, EBITDA, and you also have certain milestones that you have to hit, amongst which you have 20 million Tesla vehicles delivered, 50 billion in adjusted EBITDA, 1 million paid for AI bots paid for, and I want your thoughts on whether this means outright sale or lease. 10 million active FSD subscriptions, 1 million robotaxis in operation.
I mean, out of those, the bot is still the uncertain number, I'd say. I mean, if they manage to get the finalized design, then 1 million they will probably crank out quite quickly. But I mean, time passes, and as the same as with the FSD. It's taken probably 8 years longer than first
could
plan.
take longer. So yeah, but there's a good chance within a year or two we're going to see some bot company in China hitting 1 million bots a year. There's already a bunch of them that they're scaling up with like ridiculously large numbers.
With or without the AI brain?
Oh, without the AI brain, not the greatest physicality, not the bot that I think is worth scaling up to 1 million. But the thing is, they could do it. Unitree could do that easily. They're getting an IPO. They might get a lot of money, and they could just suddenly flood the market with a bunch of them, have 1 million of them out there. The question is whether they're up to par to be able to do this. So, you could take the Optimus design right now and probably crank out a 1 million bots within a couple of years if you just said, let's just go ahead and build it. It's not going to be that hard to scale. By 2030, they could definitely do it, assuming that they almost go nowhere next year. Let's say they only have 1,000 bots next year because it's the Gen 3. It takes a while, the teething pains and stuff like that. They could get it up there. Now, it is kind of important that they're saying 1 million bots sold, because it's one thing to say, yep, we get 1 million bots out here. See, we did the production numbers, but no one buys them. And if no one's buying them, it's because they're useless. So you've got to make sure that you have a product that people are going to want to buy. And we know the demand is out there. It's just that there's no supply. No one's built the bot yet that everyone really wants. That's what the demand is.
If Tesla produced 1 million Tesla shorts, I'm sure they would have sold them. People buy fragrances that stink.
Yeah.
So
it could be that you would have. I don't know that you would have 1 million. You had over 1 million Cybertruck holders, but they did. But in the end, they weren't able to convert those. So you may have 1 million people, and then they realize, oh, this bot's going to cost me $40,000, and it can't even find a Coke, And so,
for now,
this podcast isn't 8x yet, so I can't afford.
Yeah. So it's it may be. There's definitely. There's a lot of people that are buying Unitrees, but they're buying them kind of for the novelty and playing around, knowing it doesn't do much, and it's only like, most of them are paying probably $16 grand because you can't get the $6 grand one yet. So and I know some people that have bought like half a dozen of them. Just
really?
Yeah. Well,
what are they doing with it?
Well, boxing matches.
This is the thing this absolutely makes sense. I was told by someone that the bots will be funny before they're useful. And he's right. And it's like, he says it's all about entertainment. The bots can do entertainment already. And the Chinese are deploying, there's a couple of companies saying, oh yeah, we're going to have like 1,000 of them. I think it was like one of these auto companies, and they're going to be in our showroom. It's like, what are they doing in the showroom? I thought they should be in the factory. It's like, they're in the showroom because they want to normalize the idea of bots to the Chinese population.
I see.
And all they're going to do is you're just going to go around and like open up the car door and explain the features and stuff like that. And so,
but aren't they teleoperated? or remote controlled?
Oh, I think they may be autonomous at that point, because you could. Disney's been doing this for decades. That you have the animatronics that do that. Okay, they can't walk around, so it's going to be the same thing. That you have the bots that will have a script and be able to go through it. Between LLMs, and they can walk. They don't have to do much. They don't have to do complex manipulation or anything like that. And it may be that you have someone who's kind of supervising the little fleet of them going around. So. But if you look at it, you already have like a boxing league. So this is the kind of entertainment that everyone's talking. They're going to be funny. And the people are watching the boxing, not so much for the boxing, but for all the silly things that end up happening, that the bots falling on top of each other and falling out of the ring or doing whatever. So it's right that right now you could probably make money on a lot of Chinese bots by just using it purely for entertainment. And if you think about it, it's like, there are people who actually make a living making jokes. They're called comedians. I don't make a living that way, even though everyone say I'm a comedian sometimes. But the question is being a comedian useful work? Maybe it is. It's like if you're getting a paycheck for it, technically it's useful work. If someone's willing to pay you for it, then you've done something that someone else considers useful.
Thinking about having when you said showroom open the door, will any of these bots be able to sit into the car, or is that why you have the Robovan? The Robovan, the only way the box is going to get in the car. It's going
to be a bit tough. A couple of if you're looking at some of the newer designs of the Chinese bots, let's say their hips and everything are such that they could probably sit in the car. But the point is not for them to sit in the car. The point is for the customer to sit in the car. They're not taking them out for a test drive or anything like that. They're just like opening it up. Now, maybe they'll go in there and say, oh, check this leather out over here. Or this is where the power is for the seat. They go back forward. Maybe they would do something like that. And then you would need a form factor that's not going to tear up the leather seats. Optimus right now is not going to easily be able to. First of all, it can't bend well enough. So I think someone almost has to put it in there. But I don't think that's the point. It doesn't have to do everything. It's just so long as they can provide some sort of useful service as a kind of a sales manager with it. And then I begin to wonder if they get commissions.
Final poll, all three of us, and I'll go first. I think this comp plan is going to be succeeded by another. Elon's 54. There's no way he's retiring at 60. Anyway, once he earns it all, he's got to hold on to it for another 7.5 years. There's so many more products that he's been thinking of. I'm betting there's going to be another comp plan, maybe around 2030, 2032. What say you?
Yeah, I don't remember the timeline for the first one, but it definitely beat that before time.
Yeah, 4 years.
And I expect, as long as the products pan out the way they are planned, definitely they will.
If you start hitting some of those tranches early, yes. If you're not hitting those tranches, probably not.
Yeah. And the succession thing about finding a replacement CEO. Well, he's Techno King and CEO right now, and he's always said he doesn't want to be CEO. He's happier being Techno King, so he could just continue.
Until
Is it Techno King or Techno King?
Yeah.
I thought it was Techno King.
Yeah. In Sweden,
as long as he's knocking out those products and those ideas, we're all happy. For the moment, we'll have to leave it there. So thank you so much, Scott and Gustav. Always a pleasure talking to you. Till next time.
Yep. You're welcome, Royden. Bye, Gustav.